The day is finally here. Update 38, the brand new expansion, the Corsairs of Umbar, is finally coming today. And in this video, I'm gonna do a summary of what we can expect from this expansion and this level cap going forward. And the first thing I would like to mention is the brand new class that's coming with this expansion. Obviously, the class is already live in the game, but you have to buy the expansion in order to play the class now. I'm not going to spend too much time talking about the Mariner, but a brief summary of the class. The blue line, the Shanty Caller line, works kind of like a red captain, where you deal damage but you also buff your group. Red line, the Duelist, is your personal DPS line, where you simply focus on dealing as much damage as possible. And the final one, the yellow line, the Rover, is your support debuffing line, where you kind of play like a yellow burglar or a yellow lore master. Me personally, I've played red the most. I find it really fun. The DPS numbers are really good. Blue line I've played as well quite a bit. It's kind of similar to red line in many ways, but you also have the added buffs to your group that you need to coordinate. But red Mariner and blue Mariner both seem really strong. Yellow Mariner seems like they can do a decent job filling in for a yellow Berg or a yellow Lore Master, but in my opinion, it seems like red and blue are the strongest lines for now, with yellow line kind of taking a back seat. But in any case, this has been one of the best class releases, and from what I've seen, the class has been very well received, generally all over throughout the game. Really fun and engaging class. Also, with this update, since it is an expansion, our level cap will increase from 140, and eventually you will reach level 150. 150 will be the new cap. Obviously, the stat goals, the stat caps you need to hit will increase. And also, new on this level cap compared to level 140, the critical rating will be a bit higher and harder to reach. But in general, every stat should feel the same except for critical rating, which will be a bit harder to reach, which is good in my opinion, because I think it was too easy to get good stats on the level 140 cap. So hopefully this will make it better at 150. As usual, with a new level cap comes an increase to the legendary items, meaning that our Gundabad, currently the maxed out traceries, which you can see on the left here, maximum level 150, minimum 131, will eventually be replaced by the new Umbari tier. So tier 15, max level 160, minimum 141. So to explain briefly how this will work, once you reach level 141 and 146, you can reforge your legendary items and increase their levels. Once you reforge at 146, the max cap of your traceries will go to 515. That will be the highest on release. And if we compare the single target attack damage to my AoE attack damage, you can see that this one has the cap of 515, but this one has the cap of 499. And this is because the area effect attack damage is still Gundabad, so meaning I have this type of tracery in this slot, meaning that this tracery slot cannot be leveled any higher. In order to go further than the 499 enhancement limit that these traceries do have, you have to upgrade to an Umbari. As you can see, the Umbari tracery has a limit of 549. So obviously, as we move forward with this level cap in future updates, this will increase from 515 and eventually all the way to 549. But for now, 515 will be the cap. Some traceries it might be worth holding up on upgrading until you get an Umbari gold tier, because upgrading a gold Gundabad into a purple Umbari will give you stat increases with the mastery being higher, but of course you will lose some percentage on your main bonus. So while it might be worth upgrading most of your traceries for the stat gains, there are some I think you should hold off on until you get at least teal, maybe even gold. But the short of it is that you won't be able to take your Gundabad traceries past 499. If you want to go into the 500s, you have to upgrade to an Umbari tracery. Another really good change is a change to how enhancement runes will work. In previous level caps, runes like the yellow runes we've seen here would have like a limit of 510 or 520, meaning that eventually they would become useless. This will now change, where the yellow enhancement runes can be used all the way up to the top level of this level cap, 549. So any enhancement rune can be used regardless of the enhancement limit. And the only change to this system is that a yellow enhancement rune will level 1 level up. If I had a purple enhancement rune and applied it to this, it would give me 2 levels. If I had a teal, it would give me 3 levels. If I had a gold, it would give me 4 levels. So instead of the runes having different enhancement limits, they will now simply increase a different number of enhancements depending on their rarity. Yellow increases 1, purple increases 2, teal 3, and gold 4. So really nice change to enhancement limits and a really nice improvement to the legendary item grind overall. With this update, we're also getting a new type of essence system. With this update, we're also going to get some new essence types. And to just explain it really briefly, this is the items we get from a normal essence box. It's all pretty familiar, all standard. The only 2 new ones are at the bottom. But to explain this really simply, there are 3 different types of essences that can appear on your gear. Typically, you'll find the different types on crafted gear. So we have these crafted iron boots. They have 1 of each type of essence. Into the primary essence slot, you can only swipe 1 type of essence, and that is either might, agility, or will. So 1 of the 3 main stats are the only essences that go into the primary essence slot. Into the vital essence slot, you can put 2 different type of essences, either the essence of fate or essence of vitality. And in most cases, I believe people will just simply put vitality in there because the fate is not nearly as good as the vitality. And the final slot we have is a basic essence slot. That means that any essence type of the normal essences, excluding the might, agility, will, fate, and vitality, so excluding these 5, anything from the resistance and up, you can put in the basic essence slot. Additionally, into the basic essence slot, you can put the essence of vitality or fate, the supplemental essences. So these, I believe, are primarily there for like healers, tanks, support kind of thing. If you want to add some more vitality, if you feel like you don't need any more of the normal stats, you can then instead add a little bit of slice of vitality onto your gear. But primary essence slot either takes might, agility, will. Vital essence slot can only take fate or vitality. Basic essence slot can take all of the basic essences and also the supplemental essences. So from what we've heard, this will typically only be on crafted gear. I don't think it will be on raid gear and stuff like that, but we'll see what the future holds. But at least this is how the new essence types will work. With this update, we're finally getting the main stat changes for every class. And this chart is from the second beta report, and it roughly gives you an overview of what each class is getting. I do think there's been a few adjustments with the latest builds, but this is roughly showing what kind of stats you get from might, agility, and will for each class. Each class should have 1 stat, might, agility, or will, which they gain more from than other classes. As you can see, the heavy classes in red here will gain more from might. The medium classes' best stat will be agility, as we can see from the yellow here in agility. And for light classes, Loremaster, Minster's, Rune-keeper, they will earn the most from a will. So those would probably be the essences you would put in your primary slots. But this is roughly how it's going to be. Main stat Revamp will be in with this update, and honestly it shouldn't change that much. You will just simply go for the best main stat for your class. Since this new expansion is a level cap increase, naturally we need new areas to quest and level up through. And these areas will be in Gondor, namely King's Gondor, and also in Harad. So Harad will be a brand new big region, just like we have Eriador, we have Rhovanion, we have Rohan, Gondor, Mordor. We should see Haradwaith being the next big region in Middle-earth. And when it comes to new regions for the game, we've already explored the eastern parts of King's Gondor. There will be 4 new regions to quest through with this update. The first one will be the western King's Gondor, which will pretty much cover this whole area right here. The second one will be brand new territory, Outer Gondor, which is up here on the far west. So when the update arrives, we can quest through western King's Gondor, And also Outer Gondor will open up. So Outer King's Gondor will also be a new zone to quest through. So after we've quested through Western King's Gondor and Outer King's Gondor, which are kind of familiar areas to us, we will go to the first brand new location where we will head south towards Harad, and we'll kind of make a little stop here. You can see there's a little band of islands here, I think. This is our first stop. Like I said, we quest through Western King's Gondor, Outer King's Gondor, and then we take a boat and we arrive at the Shield Isles, Umbar and the Shield Isles. So after we finish Gondor, we go through the Shield Isles, do our stuff there, then eventually we reach Umbar, and then the final destination will be the town of Umbar Barbel. This is the map of the Shield Isles. As you can see from the map filter, we now have Herodwaith added as a big region. And Herodwaith so far consists of the Shield Isles, which we are looking at right now. Sirar, Tarka, the Shield Isles of Umbar will be the third zone that we get to quest through with this expansion. And then eventually we cross the ocean and reach the Cape of Umbar. So our first landing will be here in Jack's Vanal, and then eventually we go south to Katab, we go east through Kuthra, and then we finally reach the big city Umbar Baharbel. And we can also reach the outskirts, sort of, like this area outside of Umbar. But once again, I would say they've done a really good job with landscape. It looks really great. And I think they really did the city of Umbar justice. It looks really nice. So those are the 4 new zones we get to quest through. Western King's Gondor, Outer King's Gondor, the Shield Isles, and the Cape of Umbar with the city of Umbar. This update will also see us continue the epic storyline, the Song of Waves and Wind. And for those who have done the first chapter of this book, what happened was that we met with Aragorn in Minas Tirith, and he told us to head west into King's Gondor and basically find out if everything was okay. So we kind of headed west into King's Gondor, all the way through Pelargir, until we eventually reached Linhir, which was as far as we could go. We did meet with some new factions that actually hail from Umbar, and there was some drama, some killing. Not going to go too much into the storyline, but eventually we went back further east to Gondor. We went back to Imloth Melu. This is where the king is right now. So the epic storyline will continue in Imloth Melu, where we currently find ourselves with Aragorn and all of his crew. Obviously on beta they don't really show the epic storyline, so it will be brand new for everyone. But this storyline should take us from Imloth Melu, eventually through Western King's Gondor, Outer King's Gondor, through the Shield Isles, to the Cape of Umbar, and then eventually we will reach the city of Umbar Baharbel. And in this city we will come upon a crew of new characters for our story. This is the Kindred of the Coin. And the first person that we see here, I believe this is the woman we already encountered in the chapter 1 of the story. This is Nakasi Wave Reaper, wife of the slain Tumuldo Fiercewater. Nakasi has claimed her husband's former position within the Kindred of the Coins. The next character we see is on the far right. This is Bellandor of Langstrand. A veteran captain of Gondor, Bellandor was once the warden of the Firth, before he angered the steward Denethor. So it seems like this guy kind of left Gondor because he angered Denethor, and he's now living in Umbar. So Bellandor should have a role to play in our story. The next character we see is a dwarf. This is Koltek the Cunning. Kinsman of the Shoreward Stone, Koltek is a dwarf of the Tamamir clan who guards his loyalties behind quick wits and a quicker smile. So this seems like it should be an interesting character to encounter, Koltek the Cunning Dwarf. The next character we see is an orcish looking fellow. Seems like he has like a scimitar or a weapon. Pretty cool looking weapon. This is Rothog the Storm, beloved gladiator and veteran of bloody combats in the arena. Rothog has attained the favor of the Umbari people. So for those who haven't seen it, there's a big Colosseum in Umbar, and I believe this guy is, I guess he's in control of the fighting. He seems to have gained popularity for being a fighter in the arena. He's a veteran of bloody combat, so there's Definitely been some killing in the Colosseum, so hopefully we get to go inside the Colosseum and maybe do some fighting on our own. But Rothog the Storm definitely has the look of a bad guy, so I have a feeling that eventually we'll have to fight this guy in some capacity. The next character in the background in the back right here is Tatata the Beast, a powerful warrior and trainer of animals. Tatata rose to her position in the Kindred when her predecessor was revealed to be a traitor. So she took the spot of someone that was a traitor. That seems kind of fishy to me. Maybe she politicked her way into the Kindred of the Coins. But Tatata the Beast is also part of the Kindred of the Coins. Looking like a really nice crowd so far. In the front, on the right side, we have Harmelak Goldenhand, matron of a powerful merchant family and one of the wealthiest people in all of Umbar. Harmelak is the financier of the Kindred. So this is the person who controlled all the money. A really wealthy person. Harmelak Goldenhand. You probably don't want to get on her bad side. And the final person revealed in the middle of this is Asagoth Sea Shadow, the Black Numenorian leader of the Kindred of the Coins. Asagoth is charming and deadly, beloved by the people of Umbar. So this guy in the middle is the leader, Asagoth Sea Shadow. So it definitely seems like we have a mixed crew of interesting characters to encounter in our stories and questing, and I can't wait to see what Umbar has in store for our characters. Also, with this expansion comes the revamp to crafting, and the promise is that crafting is going to be more relevant throughout the level cap. So it shouldn't just be like in the beginning you craft your items and then forget about crafting. Crafting should see additions once we get new content. Crafting should be tied into that content, and it should actually be worth doing your crafting and kind of upgrading some nice looking gear. And from what we've heard, it seems like the crafting guild will not be ready for release, probably a few weeks later. I did look at some of the items on beta from the Umbari tier. I'm just gonna let it play while I talk a bit about crafting. But like I said, crafting will be relevant throughout the level cap. From this beta, it seemed like we had all the basic stuff, like the basic jewelry. You can craft essences, basic items like armor and shields. Should be able to craft those pretty soon. There was definitely some scroll cases that can give you purple recipes for purple gear. Obviously, crafting wasn't fully implemented when I looked at it on beta, but we could see like the way it's going to take shape. And there was also definitely some recipes that you could get from the new factions in Umbar. So once we get to the live game, we'll get more of an overview of where crafting stands. But in short, crafting revamp should make crafting viable throughout the level cap. It should not be a forgotten thing. It should be worth it being a crafter. But hopefully this crafting revamp will make crafting worth it once again. Also, with the crafting revamp, we finally have the ability to change out our professions. Just going to play this footage from beta report 1. As you can see, we now have the ability to forget an old craft profession and learn something new. So I wanted to forget my tailor and learn weaponsmith, so I simply picked forget an old crafting profession and learned weaponsmith. Then you can select which one you want to forget, and obviously I will select tailor. And when I selected tailor, I simply hit train, yes, and voila, I have weaponsmith instead of tailor. So you can now freely select which 3 professions you want. They are planning on adding a 4th profession alternative if you want, but it will probably be locked behind mithril coins. But you can now freely select any 3 professions that you want for your craft. Just keep in mind, if you replace one that you already have progress on, that progress will be lost. Another thing that will make a return for this update is allegiances. As you can see from the top left here, this is from the beta report 3 that I did. On the top left, we have the Mordor allegiances, we have the Gundabad one, and this is the new tab with this update. We have 2 new allegiances. One of them is called the Ledger Keepers. The other one is the Order of the Eagle. So you have 2 different allegiances that you can level up, and they will pretty much work just like allegiances in the past, where you earn items that you can use to level up and then earn some rewards. And both these factions should have some nice rewards that you can work towards. When it comes to getting your best pieces of gear and everything like that before the instances arrive, it seems to me like there will be some sort of mixture between crafted gear, allegiance gear, ember gear, maybe even missions and delvings. We don't really know yet. I haven't really seen missions or delvings in the new areas, but I have a feeling that the best in slot pieces will kind of be spread out a bit, that you can get them from different kind of sources. We already know that we're not getting any instances upon release, and I think a rough estimate for the instances will be that we should be getting our 3-mans, our 2 3-mans should be arriving, let's say December, January, somewhere along those lines. The 6-man should be, let's say January, February maybe, and then probably the raid in February, March. That's probably a rough, good estimate of when we can see instances. But until we get our instances, there's a lot of questing to do. There's new allegiances, there's crafting revamp, there's also reputation you can gain from Umbar, where you can get some really nice rewards. And hopefully the crafting guild content is not that far away, so there should be a lot of stuff to do until we get our instances. And finally, I'm not going to talk that much about class changes. There are some minor class changes, some quality of life improvements for some classes, but nothing major that really stands out for the class changes. But I thought I could mention the standardization of melee range. This change will make pretty much all normal melee skills be 4-meter range, and AoE skills will be 5-meter range. So if you're 4 meters away from your target as a melee player with this update, you will be able to hit the target, but if you go further away from the target, you can't hit your standard melee skills. However, if they are AoE, they get an increase of 1 meter, so single target melee skills 4-meter max range, AoE melee skills 5-meter max range. If you enjoyed the video, please consider dropping a like and subscribing, as it really helps out the channel. And if you like LOTRO, I would really recommend joining my Discord servers. You can also support me directly through my Ko-fi website. If you're playing or looking to play Lord of the Rings online, there is one place you need to be. The Ghyniverse is a Discord server created for the community of the players of Lord of the Rings Online. The server is getting close to 7,000 members, and in this server you'll find tons of helpful information. There's monthly giveaways, easy access to patch notes, you can keep up with my YouTube videos, my streams. If you're a streamer, you can ask for the streamer role and you can announce your streams in the other stream channel. There are discussion channels for pretty much everything, every class, monster players. But the best thing about this server is probably the Gearing Resources tab, where you can find anything from trait lines for every class, every build. There are stat goals, where you can find out what stats you should aim for on your characters. Really helpful information about drop rates from instances, as well as screenshot from all the new loot that appears in the game. If you enjoy LOTRO, you should definitely consider joining this server, and hopefully I'll see you in Middle Earth. If you were part of the Ghyniverse already, you might have noticed that another tab appeared at the top, the LFF server. This server is a brand new server that I created, the LFF Ghyniverse. In this server, you can select which servers you want to keep up with, and once you select your server, say you select Arkenstone, you will see the LFF, the kinship advertisement, looking for kinship and trade channels, and there's also voice channels if people want to use those. The LFF channel is basically a looking for fellowship channel where people can post if they need players for the runs, and this way people don't have to be logged into the game to see the chat. They can just instead get a notification on their Discord. There's also a kinship advertisement page where kins can post their kinship advertisement and have people join their kins, and you can also post in the looking for kinship chat if you're looking for a kinship, but make sure to take a look in the kinship advertisement first and look through all the kin to find a suitable kin for you. There's also a trade channel if people want to buy or sell stuff that you can use. Hopefully you'll consider joining this server to bring the community even more together, not just in the game, but also outside of the game.